Hello, Intro to Programming students. It's Bruce here with another video to talk about lists, and not only lists like we've learned about before, but what we will call lists in lists. So what do I mean by that, right? So let me create a new file here for a second. I'm going to create a function called demo. That's a good name, right? And then we're going to call our function demo. And then we'll create a list the way you learned how to do lists so far. And that's with the square brackets. And then in the square brackets, we'll put like student names or something like that. We'll do John Bonham. Okay. John Bonham. And we'll do, I don't know, Lenny Kravitz. Okay. So there's a list, right, of three names, right? And we could iterate through the list if we wanted to and say, hey, give me a student in students here. Give me a student for every list item in the students list, right? And then I can just print out the student. And yeah, that should work. Let me just call this demo, and I will run it. And there they are, right? There's Bruce, John, and Lenny Kravitz, okay? So that's all well and good, and I think you know how to do that, right? And yeah, so really cool, right? So what happens if we want to now store more information about, say, Bruce, John Bonham, or Lenny Kravitz? Maybe their GPA, right? Maybe their GPA. So what you can do, and I'm going to leave this students right here, and I will create another variable called students, and this time I'm going to stick lists inside, of a list, if I can type correctly. Now I put the square brackets in there, so I can now just go in and say, hey, Bruce has a GPA of 4.0, and then John Bonham has a GPA, he's a drummer, 1.0, and Lenny Kravitz, or he was a drummer, Kravitz, and Lenny has, I don't know, he's got a 3.8, okay? So check this out, right? We have an overarching list here, right? The square bracket here, and then the square bracket over here, okay? And then we have inside of there three lists that have two elements in each list, right? So how would we go about now doing this? Because if we run this now, we're going to get three lists printed out. Okay, three lists printed out, and there are the lists, right? There are the lists. So how do we get the values, right, in the inner lists here? Okay, so it's actually kind of simple, right? So here we're getting student back, which happens to be a list. Now, if we just use our subscripting here and we say, give me the first element in that list, okay, which is just going to be the name. Check it out. Let me run it. There are the names, okay? And now if I put a comma student sub 1, right, we're going to get Bruce and his GPA, and John and his GPA, and Lenny and his GPA. Okay? So that's the way you can iterate through a list of lists. And I'll put that up here because maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying. A list of lists. Okay? A list of lists. Okay? And if I added a third element to the inner list, I don't know, just maybe their student ID, 1, 2, 3, and John's is 3, 4, 5, and I'm making them strings just because I know I could have just made them numbers, but I just made them strings just to show you here. And this guy's is 777. And right now, if I add a third element here, student sub 2, and now we'll get that newly added, that newly added number. You see that right there? Okay. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to access list elements not using a loop, right? So not being handed a student each time. So how can we outrightly refer to this, right, say 4.0 inside of students. So that'll be in the next video.